So today we'll start with 13C NMR spectroscopy. Okay. So last we discussed about the chemical shift values in proton NMR. So now we will discuss about 13C NMR, and then we'll try to we'll see how we can correlate both of them and do structural elucidation. So 13C NMR means, till now what we were doing was we were doing proton NMR, where proton NMR means you will get the signal. Suppose if you have CH3 CH2OH, I always end up giving this example only. So in your spectra for 0 to 10, you get the signals for these particular hydrogens. You get these hydrogens will appear in the spectra. So this is your proton NMR. But 13C NMR means now you will get the same delta scale, same TMS, same delta scale, but you will get the signal for this particular, this one signal, this is for another signal. So for these two carbon atoms we will get the signals, and the range for the this one, your delta scale in proton NMR. In proton NMR, what was the delta scale? Delta scale was from 0 to around 15 ppm. So most of the peaks they used to cover in that particular area. But in case of 13C, the delta scale is from around 0 to 220 ppm. So this is another big difference that you can see, like in your proton and your 13C spectra. In proton spectra, the delta scale is from 0 to 15 ppm, but in case of 13C, your delta scale is 0 to 220 ppm. Now why are we saying always 13C, 13C, 13C? That is because the isotope of carbon, suppose your carbon, which is our carbon 12, which is a naturally abundant in your atmosphere, this is NMR inactive. Why it is NMR inactive? Because I is equal to 0, and in case of 13C, I is equal to half. So because of this is, or you can say that already we are saying 13 it is an odd mass number. Because of its odd mass number, that's why it is NMR active. But the problem here is, this is only around 1.08% available, and this is available in 99%, okay, around 99 or 98 point something. So this is 99%. That means if you have a compound, suppose again I'll take the same example, okay, then the probability of this being 13C and this being 13C, it's almost negligible, okay. That means in one particular compound, the two will never be in 13C. Two compound adjacent to each other will never be 13C active. So in, suppose there are lots of molecules of ethyl bromide, then in some one of that is in 99% of that ethyl bromide that you are taking, most of the carbon, 99% is carbon 12, which is NMR inactive, and only 1% is carbon 13. That means suppose in one molecule this carbon will be carbon 13 and this is 12, in another molecule this will be carbon 13. So whichever molecule that particular carbon is carbon 13, that will give your signal, okay. So what we can say is that the resonance of 13C is, or resonance in terms of your NMR spectra of 13C is very difficult to observe, okay, very difficult to observe. There may be two particular reasons for that. There is two reasons. One is your 13C is less abundant 13C is less abundant, so here you can always write that it is only 1.08% available. And then the second point is the magnetogyric ratio, that means this one which we discussed in your first class, magnetogyric ratio of 13C, is it visible? Is 1/4 of each atom. It's 1/4 of each atom. Magnetogyric ratio of 13C is 1/4 of hydrogen atom. Now, what happens if magnetogyric ratio is 1/4 of hydrogen atom? How does it affect the spectra? Okay. Now, if you go back, then you will get the particular expression where I derived, where your frequency is a function of your magnetogyric ratio. Then you have your 2 pi and B naught. Okay. So now if this is the resonating frequency at which there is resonance of the particular nucleus that we are discussing, and this is for proton here, and if I say this is H, and then nu for 13C will be equal to function of B naught by 2 pi. Then if we have this is as for 13C carbon, and I said that gamma H is equal to, or you can say 13C is 1/4 of this here. So now if you compare that both, so now this will be around, so it decreases by 4 units. Okay. So that's why this 13C, the resonating frequency, it decreases, and as the resonating frequency decreases, what happens is the energy separation decreases. And if energy separation decreases, suppose if this is for the alpha and beta state we are talking about, and this is the energy separation here, and this is for proton here. So now for carbon 13 this will decrease. Now for carbon 13 it will decrease, and as it decreases, what happens? Your population difference also decreases, and the scale of the NMR is in 13C is 0 till 220 ppm. So you have 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. So like this it goes on to 220 ppm. So the range is 0 to 220. This is the delta scale for 13C spectra. So as same chemical shift factors apply here also in terms of your in case of 13C. So yeah, the one which is more attached to an electronegative atom will come here downfield. So this here for this one, this side becomes the downfield, and this is the upfield. So this is upfield and this is downfield. Okay. So if you have CH3OH and you have CH3Cl, so which is more electronegative? Of course, oxygen here is more electronegative. So if oxygen is more electronegative, this will come somewhere here, and your chlorine, which is one attached to carbon, this carbon will appear somewhere here in the spectra. Okay. So same electronegative factors will govern your particular shift. Now what we have to predict is, with our experience and with the range, we have to predict the range at which these particular peaks appear. Okay. So if you have to see another important factor that I forgot to tell you is why it is from 0 to 2 to 0 ppm. What is the reason for the carbon 13 nucleus to appear in such a broad spectrum, and you have your proton which comes in the range of 0 to most probably 12 or 15 ppm. Maybe I will write it here 15, because some protons appear in 15 also. The reason is, if you see the proton nucleus here, this is the proton nucleus. Now this proton nucleus is affected by the electronegativity of this oxygen atom. Now the hydrogen or this proton is affected by this oxygen atom, but this hydrogen atom is in between this hydrogen atom and this oxygen atom, there is this another carbon atom here. So this is at a distance of 2 bond. Okay, so they are separated by 2 particular bonds. But if you say that this is the nucleus we are talking about, and this is the oxygen which is bringing in the effect of your chemical shift here, then if you see, this oxygen is directly attached to this carbon atom, and because of this electronegative factor is much more in here and compared to this particular. So this hydrogen nuclei is 2 bond away from each other, 2 bond away from the oxygen atom, and but this carbon is just one, the particular atom or electronegative atom which is bringing in this chemical shift. But in case of hydrogen, the electronegative atom is kind of quite far apart from each other, so that's why they are in the shift in your delta scale is only from 0 to 15 ppm. Okay, so now let's try to see how to interpret the carbon 13 nucleus. And if I draw the spectrum again, and if I draw some 0 here and 100 here and 200 here, so we can divide this whole spectra into kind of 4 quarters, and from this initial 0 to all the alkyl groups like your CH3, then C, you have C, then we can write here CH2, R, these alkyl groups, most of the alkyl carbons, and you have the primary, secondary, then you have the R3C and R4C also. So all these, they appear somewhere from 0 to around 40. This is the range 0 to 40. So if I have to write it in detail, then you have RCH3, then you have RCH2, where this R is just alkyl groups. Okay, this you are talking about alkenes, R3C and R4C. So these ranges are around 8 to 30 ppm. Then here the secondary, they come here around 15 to 55. Then the tertiary and quaternary, they come in around 20 to 60. This is the range for your alkane chain. They are all there in the books. You can again see there also. Then you have your halogens, Ci, Cbr, all these, they appear in the range around again 0 to 40, and sometimes in here, in case of bromine, it is given 25 to 65. Okay, then you have any carbon attached to oxygen. This is very important. They are coming around 40 to 80 ppm. Any carbon attached to oxygen. Then carbon attached to nitrogen, they appear in 30 to 65. So this is just a range. You don't have to memorize this particular thing, but when you analyze the carbon 13 spectra, this initial half, that is from 0 to 40 range, this you should think that this is for the normal carbon atoms which are from your hydrocarbons, alkanes. Then you have halides, carbon attached to halogen. They will appear not in the 0 scale, but probably you can think they'll appear somewhere between 40 to 50 or sometimes 60 also, because if you have two particular halogen atoms, then it will move further downfield. Then you have your carbon oxygen, as I said, this is to 40 to 80 ppm. Then carbon nitrogen 30 to 65. So this is the range. Then are your alkynes, C triple bond C. They appear in the range is from 65 to 90 ppm. Okay, 65 to 90 ppm. Then you have C double bond C, alkenes. Alkenes, they appear from 100 to 150 ppm. So within this range also, in your isolated alkene will somewhere come here around 100 to 120, and you have your benzene ring alkene. So you have this double bond. They also appear in your 120, around 120 to around 55, or maybe you can write 65 ppm. This is the range for your aromatic. This 160 to 180 is for the carbonyl carbon, this carbon, but this only for your like ester. Then you have R C double bond O, amides, and then you have R amides you have, then you have your ester acids also, yeah, R C double bond O OH. So this 160 to 180, this range is very important. Here you will get the carbon 13 peak for, because this carbon can also be carbon 13. So they will appear in this particular range. And then you have above 200, that means from 200 to, or maybe 190 to 220, you have your carbonyl carbon, that means R, you have the ketone and you have the R aldehyde. So they appear in this 190 to 200 range. Okay. So if you can revise this whole carbon 13 spectra, then you can break this into four particular parts. First part is the initial part, where you have the alkane hydrogens, alkane carbon 13s, those are appearing in that. Then you have your alkyne, which is coming at around 60 to 90 range. In this 60 range, 60 to 80, you had your alcohol, carbon attached to OH, carbon attached to nitrogen. Then you have your C double bond C, which comes from around, what was the range for C double bond C? It comes at 100 to 150, 100 to 150. Then you have your ester, acid, amides, they appear in your 160 to 180, and aldehyde and ketones, they appear from 190 to 220. Okay, so these values no need to memorize. I also don't remember any of the particular value, but I know the range at which it appears. So that range should be little bit cleared, and it will be clear more when we do more of your we do some analysis part. When you do the structure analysis, then it will be more clearer. But just try to practice yourself how to somehow get this range in your head. Okay. Okay, so this is an important topic, but it's not so important that you have to remember this. But what I'm trying to tell you is that there are some tables which are being made. Now these tables give you the exact, suppose you have your log tables. So you can go back and see the log tables for this one, this is the value, and then you used to write. Similarly, after analyzing a lot of spectra, these tables are being made, and then for these tables some values are being assigned. So some base value, and then with this base value you can slowly add up and have a perfect idea that this is the range that this carbon 13 will come. Suppose I'll just give you an example. Suppose you have your aromatic rings. Now the base value for 13C is 128.5 ppm. Okay, this is base value for your carbon. Now if a substitution is there, suppose your methyl substitution and you have your meta substitution. This example I am taking from your book only. So and you are being given the particular your table also with you, and the table says that for ipso it is 9.3, for ortho it is 0.7, then meta it is minus 0.1, and for para it is minus 2.9. Suppose this data is given to you, and then you have to predict which all the carbon atoms they appear in which particular range. So if I say how many signals, so this is 1, this is 2, this is, oh sorry, I have to do from here 2, then 3, 4, 5 and 6. There are the 6 carbons. Let's not talk about this one. This we know that they will come in your 0 to 40 range, those ranges. So this carbon, if we take C1, what is the base value? Base value is 128.5. okay. Now this is the ortho position. Sorry, this is the first carbon, and this carbon has a substitution at ipso position. So if a substitution at ipso position is there, you have to add a 9.3. So the carbon at which this is the carbon, so this position is called your ipso position, and this with this position the value already is given, it's 9.3. and then for this carbon atom ortho position there is nothing, no substitution. Meta position there is, yes, meta position there is a substitution for this carbon atom, so this will be minus 0.1, so minus 0.1, and then you get the value. So this will be the value of your peak. And then suppose you have C2. So for C2, do you have, what is the base value? 128.5 plus. Does it have an ipso substitution? No, it does not have ipso substitution. So I will put 9.3 here. So ortho, yeah, this position is ortho, this is also ortho. So for ortho position 0.7, that means there are two ortho, 0.7 plus 0.7. So whatever the value will come, that will be the value for this carbon atom, your second carbon atom C2. Then C3, and if you see C3 and C1 are equal, so whatever value C3 will show, it will be same like whatever C1 is showing. Then you have C4, again 128.5, this is the base value of this carbon atom, and then ortho position there is 1, so again I will write plus 9.3, oh sorry, ipso position there is nothing, ortho position there is 1, so for ortho it is 0.7, ortho, meta, nothing is there, para. So para position one substitution is there, it is minus 2.9. So whatever value is there, that will come. So in exam, you should expect a question where your values will be given. So it will be given like for this particular carbon 13, aromatic carbon 13, these are the values. Base value is 128.5, ortho, ipso, ortho, meta, para, these are the values. So kindly find out the values of each of the particular carbon atom. Okay, you do not have to memorize these values. It will be given to you. You do not need to memorize because there are so many values you won't be able to memorize. So that memorizing part is not a option for you. But suppose you have your NH2. I took another example from the tables. Suppose for this was for any aromatic ring. This table that was given, this was for any aromatic ring having your methyl substitution. In ethyl substitution, it will be different values. So suppose you have, it is given for NH2, aniline, your ipso, ortho, para, meta, and para. So that means if NH2 group is present in case of here in case of CH3, then for ipso substitution it is given as 18.2, then ortho it is given minus 13.4, meta it is given 0.8, and para it is given minus 10. So you have to use these values and then you have to find out what are the different values of this C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6. Okay. So good thing is the values will be provided to you, but you should know how to and proton decoupled 13C. Proton coupled and proton decoupled 13C. Now if we take suppose this example, you have carbon, you have hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen here, and you have hydrogen, this is a methylene carbon, and you have okay. So here there are carbon, 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 carbon. So this carbon has, or these are all active nuclei. Okay, these are all active nuclei. These are all active nuclei. So in this case, this carbon is attached to 3 hydrogens. This carbon is attached to 2 hydrogen. This is attached to 1 hydrogen, and this carbon is not attached to any particular hydrogen atom. Okay. Now, if we take the n+1 rule now here, so for this carbon atom, the n will be the number of hydrogen atoms here. So this is 3 plus 1. So this is 4. So there will be the splitting of the peak that is coming for 13C, and this peak is being splitted into 4 peaks, and it will appear as a quartet in your NMR 13C spectra. Now for this, your n+1 will be 2 hydrogens are there, 2 plus 1, and so 3. This is appear as triplet, and you have this one. So for this one is n+1, so it is 1 plus 1 equal to 2, so it is a doublet, and for this it should come as a singlet. It should be singlet. So this carbon 3 hydrogens, 3 plus 1 4, this carbon 2 hydrogens, 2 plus 1 3, triplet, doublet, and singlet. Why it is happening? Because these hydrogens are also NMR active. We know that for these hydrogens I is equal to half, and because of the arrangement, as I already said, in your spin splitting, it appears as 4. Now you may argue that why it is not being split further. For suppose here you have this carbon atom and this carbon atom, and these two carbon atoms can split this, so this n can be 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be 4 plus 1. So 4 plus 1 is 5. But this does not happen. Why? Because the probability of finding two adjacent 13C nuclei is very low. That means the probability of this carbon and this carbon, or this carbon being 13C, is very, very low. Already I said you that carbon 13 is very less abundant. It's only 1%, and on top of that, even if it is present, the adjacent carbon atoms will not be NMR active. So since they are not NMR active, but in some case there is 1% probability that it may appear, in that case they will give further splitting, but it's very, very difficult to get it. Okay. So in general, these adjacent carbon atoms, they are not active, so that's why these carbon atoms do not affect this carbon 13 nuclei, but these protons which are active, they affect the carbon 13 nuclei, and then they split the particular peaks. Okay. Now the concept is, if they are splitting, so they will have a what? Coupling constant J. Now in case of protons, we know in case of protons the J value, the range is from 0 to 20 Hertz. the J values lie within this particular range. In some cases it is 7, in case of, as I said, J trans, J cis, it is 14, 11, 12, all those ranges. But then whatever with the range, it is within this 0 to 20 Hertz. But for carbon 13, your the range for your your J value 13C, the J value is around 100 to 250 Hertz. The range is 100 to 250 Hertz. That means in your carbon 13 spectra, if you are getting a quartet here, this value will be, in some cases it will be minimum it is 100 and maximum it is 250, depending upon the interaction of the carbon with the hydrogen nuclei and the external factors involved. So because of this very high range, so one thing is there, because of the protons attached, we can identify whether the particular carbon atom is CH3 or CH2 or CH or C. With this kind of spectra, with this kind of splitting, we will be able to decide that whether the spectra will be, if it is, suppose this carbon is coming as singlet, if it is coming as singlet, then we know that this carbon atom does not have any hydrogen. This is a tertiary carbon atom, or not tertiary, sorry, quaternary carbon atom. And if this carbon is coming as doublet, then we know that it has 1 hydrogen and 3 carbon atoms, and because of this it will come as doublet, and in this case it will be triplet, in this case it will be quartet. This is a very important information which you get. But the problem is the range is very high. The range is from 100 to 250, and because of this wide range, there may be a scenario where this is coming here, and then there is another triplet where one peak is coming here, one peak is coming here, and one peak is coming here. So that means the peaks, they somehow come in middle of the other peaks, and because of this what happens is, in case of proton coupled spectra, becomes what? It becomes complex, or for football lovers I can also write here, it can appear as messy. It's quite messy. It's very like too much of peaks coming here and there. So it will be very difficult for you to calculate each of these coupling constant. You have to calculate each of them, and then you have to analyze. So it becomes a very hectic scenario. Also on top of that, the sensitivity of carbon 13, we know it is 1/4 of that of your hydrogen. On those factors are already there, and on top of that, if the 13C spectra is messy, so that's why it becomes difficult to interpret the carbon 13. One good information is we get to know what type of carbon atom it is, but since the peaks, the coupling constant, they are coming on top of each other, then because of that this system is not good. So what is the solution? The solution is, Gaurango, are you available? Okay, good. So what is the solution to this problem? What is the problem? The problem is our 13C spectra is very messy. We want a simple 13C spectra. Now the answer to that problem is using proton decoupled spectra. Now what is proton decoupled spectra? That we have to find out. We have to use proton decoupled spectra. Now proton decoupled spectra means you are creating an environment where the carbon 13 nucleus cannot sense the carbon 13 nuclei, cannot sense the adjacent 1H nuclei. So it's like the hydrogens are present, but at the same time something is being done which makes this carbon atom that you can, the carbon 13 nuclei cannot sense the adjacent hydrogen atom. Hydrogen atom is already there, but it is not having any effect on the carbon 13. Now what is that thing that happens in proton decoupled NMR spectra? Now if proton is decoupled, then your earlier peaks which were coming as quartet or triplet or doublet, now they will only come as singlets. They will come as singlets. One peak will be there. There will be no adjacent splitting with the adjacent hydrogen atom, which will split this particular peaks into multiplets. So there will be only one peak. Now if there is one peak, it will be easier for you to identify, okay, this is the value, this is the carbon 13. Of course, this particular information that this carbon is having 2 hydrogen or 3 hydrogen or 4 hydrogen, that information is gone, but your spectra is now clear. You are not having multiple peaks in your spectra. So what is that thing that is done in your proton decoupled spectra which makes it much clearer and smoother? Now do you remember the concept where I said that you have your alpha state and you have your beta state? The energy separation is there, and at a given room temperature, I told you that the population of the ground state will be slightly higher than the excited state. That means I said that if there is 1 lakh nuclei, then at certain temperature and a certain magnetic field, the difference is just 9 particular nuclei which will be in the higher state than in the lower state. So what happens is, in proton decoupled spectra, there is another added facility there in your instrument, which is called your decoupler. Your decoupler is available. What this decoupler will do, they will radiate, there will be simultaneous radiation. If I can write this word somewhere, there will be simultaneous irradiation of all the protons in the molecule. Okay, so this decoupler, what you will do is, decoupler will give radio frequencies and wide variety of radio frequencies, different radio frequencies at the same time, which will make all these protons which are there in your compound, like if I am saying this CH3, CH2, then OH, all these different hydrogens, all will be irradiated. Okay, and if all irradiates, what happens is, there is quick, some will go from here to here, some will go from this to this, so there is like quick resonance happening between, like continuously it is flickering. Okay, there is rapid exchange of this energy states from alpha to beta, beta to alpha, beta to alpha. So since this decoupler is sending a wide range of irradiations, along with that, now mind you, we are talking about carbon 13 nucleus. We are discussing carbon 13 nucleus. In this carbon 13 nucleus, carbon 13 NMR experiment, there is a decoupler which is giving a wide beam of energy and which is simultaneously irradiating all the protons in the molecule, and because of this there is rapid exchange of energy states, and ultimately a time comes when your number of population in the alpha state and number of population in the, or the population in the beta state and population in the alpha state is same. Now if the population in the alpha state and beta state is same, that state is called your saturation. That means you get a state of saturation where the population, there is no population difference between alpha and beta state. That initial 9 difference which the beta state had and the alpha state, now that has gone, and the number of nuclei in the alpha and number of nuclei in the beta is same. So this state is called saturation. How we are getting the saturation state? By simultaneous irradiation of the protons by what? By the decoupler. Okay. Now because of this, what happens is, because of this saturation, there is no population difference, and if there is no population difference, there is no resonance. So ultimately what happens is, this carbon it feels like there are no hydrogens nearby. Okay, it feels like there is no hydrogen nearby, there is no particular magnetic dipole moment which is, or the spin, the magnetic field which is splitting the particular signal. Okay, so because of this carbon, which was the signal which was splitted into triplet or quadruplet, now it is coming as singlet. Is it clear? Is it clear or difficult? Yes, no? So we studied proton coupled spectra and we studied proton decoupled spectra. In proton coupled spectra, the carbon 13 signal was splitted into singlet, doublet, triplet, quartet, and in proton decoupled, we are simultaneously irradiating all the protons in the molecule together, and because of this there is a state called, we have reached a state of saturation, and because of the saturation there is no population difference, and because of there is no population difference, this carbon 13 nuclei now feels that there is no adjacent hydrogen atom nearby, and because of this the carbon 13 signal, it appears as just one particular signal. So proton decoupled spectra are clearer and it appears as a just one peaks for each carbon 13 nuclei.